Today on Living by Faith.
Related to have 6, 7, 8, 10 disease. You see people like this all the time.
Yes, sir. My mother had Parkinson, cancer, diabetes,
yes.
arthritis, high blood pressure.
And these are all nutritional deficiency diseases. And it comes down to two things. The nutrients that are required to prevent and cure these diseases are no longer found in our food. So you have to supplement to get rid of them.
Well, welcome to another broadcast of Living by Faith. And I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most important broadcasts that you would ever want to pay attention to. Because if you don't begin to pay attention to this particular subject of this broadcast, you may not be around very long to see a lot of other broadcasts, because this is about your health. It's about your health. And if anyone knows the importance of a healthy lifestyle and having healthy practices, it's this guy here. Some of you have already heard, you've been aware of the fact that I went through a very tumultuous time health-wise about 2.5 years ago. And thank God that we have this healing plan and the covenant that God has established with us. And then we have men of God who are called to help us with healthy practices so that we can have great lives. You know, he was wounded for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities. But there's a role that we have in this whole healing plan. And I have one of the body of Christ's best right here in my presence. And I'm honored to introduce Dr. Joel Wallach. He is one of the leaders in knowing the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Let me welcome him at this time. Dr. Wallach, my pleasure, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Mike. It's an honor, pleasure, and thank you so much for the kind words.
Yes, sir. Quite deserving. I want to firstly make sure people are calling their friends and their family members, those who they are concerned about having a healthy life, to our broadcast. So get your friends and family members and co-workers, all the people you want to see live a long time. That's the group you want to call. Now, the Bible says if you have an ought against someone, go to them and let them know that you have an ought. The ought that I have had against you, you've taken too long to be in this chair to talk to me. So I'm letting you know today that I'm just thrilled to have you here, and it's taken a while, but we made it.
Well, I appreciate you taking so much time out of your busy schedule and
Yes,
making this happen.
I've watched you on many different ministries, Benny Hinn, Creflo Dollar. There's so many, and I said, why won't this guy come and see me? But nevertheless, you're here now. Let's talk about the importance of a healthy lifestyle. Just give me a little background of yourself. How'd you get started? When did the Lord call you to this area of ministry?
Okay. Well, it actually started when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
It was a true calling.
Really?
Yes, sir. And when I was 4 years old, I began to get symptoms of what today would be called Tourette syndrome, as part of the ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity, autism complex.
Yes, sir.
But back then, they were all kind of lumped into one thing. It was called hyperactivity, and everybody knew it was caused by red food dye in the food, right? And started getting facial cramps and tics and oinking like a pig, and everybody in church knew I was possessed by the devil, right? I'm only 4 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom and dad took me to 20 different doctors over a period of 5 years.
Come on.
By the time I was 9, I was very disabled because I couldn't read and that sort of thing, so just barely making it through school. I think they were just passing me so they wouldn't have a pig oinking in their class all the time.
Oh,
They
wow.
just passed me on.
Yes, sir.
And after the 20th doctor, I'm saying to myself, well, it doesn't look like any of these people can help me. So the next day when everybody else in school went to lunch, I went to the library. And so I went to the library and said, look, I can't read.
At 9 years old?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're going
so you
to
know I was being guided.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I went to the library and I said, look, I can't read, but I need to have a book. I can look at pictures, simple words, and it needs to be a health book. And the librarian said, well, there's some nurses' handbooks in the back there. So I went, little paperback book was perfect. And the last doctor had said that my eyelashes were too long, they were tickling my eyeballs, that was causing all this. Well, I'm only 9 years old, and I knew that couldn't be right. And so I looked.
You're 9 years old,
Yes, sir.
and you're saying
But the
this
doctor
can't
said couldn't be right.
Now, do you believe that was by the Spirit of God, or
Oh, yes,
how
sir.
does a
Yes, sir.
9-year-old?
Well, I say that all the time in my presentation. There's no way that a 9-year-old figures this out by himself.
Yes, sir.
This had to be driven and guided by the hand of God only could do that. I have no qualms. I have no questions. I know that's what happened. And I started looking under eyelids and eyelashes to see, and I couldn't find anything. So I just started going through the A's and the B's, and I got to the C's and it said cramps. Oh, maybe this is a cramp because football players are always talking about cramps. Went to the page it said to go to, and it says caused by calcium deficiency. Well, that lit up a light in me because before the bus would pick me up in the morning to take me to school, I had farm chores to do, and one of which was to feed the calves out of this big paper bag of alfalfa pellets with corn and soybeans and vitamins and minerals in it. And I could read the analysis tag and it said, I remember it had calcium in it. And so that day after school, bus let me off. I just ran right to the barn and started eating handfuls of these little
Come on, down.
Tasted like sawdust, but I'm saying,
Yeah, certainly.
And I filled my pockets with it the next day. For breakfast, I threw the Cheerios out into the front yard with the chickens. I'm filling my cereal bowl with these alfalfa pellets for the calves, put milk in
Now,
there.
what are your parents saying at this time?
Well, my mom snatched it away from me. She said, that's animal food. You can't be eating that.
Okay.
And my dad took it away from her. He says, look, nothing else has worked for 5 years. Let's let him try it.
Wow.
So he gives it back to me. The third day, Pastor, I was cured. After 5 years of getting worse and worse, being totally disabled, in 3 days I was perfectly cured.
Come on.
Now the story gets better.
Talk to me.
After a couple of weeks in church, people are noticing that I'm not oinking like a pig and having my facial tics and kind of thing and flailing my arms around and disrupting everything.
Now, what was life like that?
Well, I was very
as
lonely
a kid,
because
and
everybody was afraid to be, they avoided me.
Yeah, and teasing you, and
Well, then when there was a group of them, they would tease me. One of them by themselves, they wouldn't want to be around me because they knew I was possessed by the devil.
how about that? Possessed by the devil. Yeah.
So after a couple of weeks, people are whispering and pointing to me in the church because they noticed that I've changed.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything to them, but they're noticing. After the third week, this lady in her 80s comes to me and says, I have diabetes, can you help me? Now that frightened me. I said, I'm a kid, I don't know what to do, I don't know.
You're still 9.
It was only a couple of weeks later. And so I began to read up on diabetes and so on. And of course, I wanted to know more about all this healing that I was reading about and being taught in Sunday school and the Bible. And so when I went to college, first thing I did was go to agricultural school.
Okay.
So I just want to be a scientific farmer and go back to being a scientific farmer. Halfway through ag school, I applied for veterinary school, got accepted. So the last 2 years of ag school, I took the first 2 years of veterinary school, finished ag school, and I had to do the ROTC because the Vietnam War was on, University of Missouri. So when I finished ag school, I also graduated as an officer and gentleman in the U.S. Army.
How about that?
Yeah. And then I finished my veterinary work, but I also started taking pathology courses, looking at diseases because I was interested in diseases.
And all of this, you believe, It's a part of the leading of Holy Spirit.
That's correct.
We got to stop right there. We're going to come right back and continue this interesting and fascinating testimony. I want you to know that this is an opportunity for you to receive information that's going to cause your life to be transformed health-wise. You get your soul right, you get your body right, your spirit is already in the place. We're going to be right back to hear the rest of this awesome testimony and then talk about some of Dr. Wallach's products.
You can actually avoid, reverse, prevent all chronic degenerative diseases. None of them are genetic. And we've used this system in animals. We've been able to reverse these diseases in animals. Every disease you can name, we've been able to do it. And for 36 years, I've been employing these principles in my human patients. It works every time. It'll work for you, too.
My wife had struggled for quite a few years.
I had chronic fatigue, I had arthritis, I had carpal tunnel. I could not go up and down stairs without grabbing the rail and walking up each foot on each step to get up. We heard about Dr. Wallach, we went to his first meeting, and it's been uphill ever since. I can run up and down the stairs now. My younger sister, her health was worse than mine. Her legs would go out on her. She'd just be down on the floor. Doctors had told her, it's hereditary, there's nothing we can do for you, and eventually you will be in a wheelchair. She had severe fibromyalgia, ringing in the ears, and asthma. And she would spend most of her day sitting on the couch. She was wishing that she could die and praying that she would. And within a month of having absolutely wonderful results, her legs have never gone out on her once. She has not had an asthma attack. The ringing in her ears is almost gone, not quite completely, but she no longer has fibromyalgia. And she's energetic and going like I am.
We've had the opportunity to introduce over 300 people, and we've seen amazing results from different people with almost everything you can imagine. We have 2 people in our group who've completely gotten off from their diabetes medicine and having better results than when they were on the prescription drugs. I'm a firm believer in Dr. Wallach.
I love what he's done and is doing for people.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, and I'm going to give you the truth about nutrition. What I would like you to do is give me 90 days to show what the 90 essential nutrients can do for your health.
Hi, we're back, and thank you for watching. Let's go right back into where you were. Share, continue.
Okay, Pastor Mike, I was finishing up veterinary school when I started taking pathology courses because I kind of liked, you could always find the answer, what killed people and what killed animals, and so I was doing that. And I ran into the first mass die-off in America from pollution, and got it written up. I'm only 21 years old. I'm a graduate student. Got it written up, published, and I gave copies to important people in the university and to Marlon Perkins from the old Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom show. And when I graduated, Perkins, I had worked for him as a kid, little kid. He sent me to Africa to work on the White Rhino Conservation Project and the African Elephant Conservation Project.
Okay.
And then 2 years into that, he sends me a letter and said, look, I just got this big grant to study pollution as a cause of death in people, because this is back in the mid-'60s when everybody knew the Earth was going to end in 2 weeks from pollution.
right.
And so I need to have you come back and be the pathologist on this project. Make a long story short, it was a 12-year project, like $25 million, which is a lot of money for a 24-year-old kid to...
Oh, absolutely.
And to make a long story short, did 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 some change of over 454 species of animals, and then 3,000 humans, and looking for pollution as a cause of death in these zoo animals and people, because the people were getting the same food supply to the animals were from the wholesalers to the grocery stores, from the wholesalers to the zoos.
Okay.
And again, to make a long story short, what I found was pollution had nothing to do with causes of death in the zoo animals or humans. It was all nutritional deficiencies. All nutritional deficiencies cause heart disease and diabetes and arthritis and Alzheimer's disease and so on. And I knew how to prevent these and cure them. And the book that came out of it, 1,200 pages, which was my thesis for my postdoc, which is my PhD essentially.
Yes, sir.
It's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure because I found out the cause of all these diseases were not genetic, were not autoimmune, even sickle cell anemia. That got Andy Young from the civil rights movement all excited about it. Because I can prevent sickle cell anemia. Even everybody in the whole family's got it. The next babies won't have it. And I can actually deal with it much more efficiently than with drugs, using nutrition.
My God.
I'm finding type 2 diabetes in crocodiles. Now, how does a crocodile get a human genetic disease? So it all turns out it was just all simple nutritional formulas. And this began to be the basis of me following what God started when I was 5 years old, to treat people with his stuff, the food and the lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
So that, and the Bible always rails against pharmakia, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I began to do this, and I'm finding cures for diseases that are said to be genetic in kids. I'm finding cures for diseases that are said to be genetic in the black community, like high blood pressure and diabetes, and obesity,
Yes, sir.
congestive heart failure, Alzheimer's disease. These are all simple diseases I can totally prevent and reverse. Just the nutrition.
Totally prevent
and reverse.
and reverse.
I can make your church family disease-free in 6 months or less.
Come on.
Using his methods.
I love it. Now, when let me take you back.
It leaves you speechless.
Yeah, right. It does, and I'm sure all of our viewers are watching and saying and wondering how and where has this man been?
Well, it comes down to, again, after those 20,000 autopsies, the bottom line of what I learned was that every vertebrate, whether you're a crocodile or a turtle or a fish or a human being or a rat or a flamingo or an elephant or giraffe, all vertebrates require the same basic nutrients. If you're missing any of them, you get diseases. And the same deficiency in a crocodile will give you the same deficiency in a human, same disease. Nobody had ever seen that before because, say, an expert in one particular disease, they might do an autopsy on 500 white rats.
Okay.
Or 50 dogs. Nobody's ever done 454 species of animals in one project, plus humans. And so I know that had to be a God thing because no man could put that together.
Now, back up for a moment, because when you are 4, this happens.
Yes.
Okay, 9, you begin to eat
The animal food.
the animal food. All is connecting to your purpose and what God had
That's right. He was training me.
training you through this process.
That's correct.
And then you are given grants, you're given these opportunities to create all of these studies.
Yes, sir.
And then you come to find out, with the relationship that you have with the Lord and the relationship that you have with plant-based eating food, you now have discovered how to totally eradicate in someone like me high blood pressure, diabetes. Well, I don't have those things, but an African American man.
Okay, it's not uncommon for any human being, regardless of race, to have 6, 7, 8, 10 diseases. You see people like this all the time.
Yes, sir. My mother had Parkinson, cancer, diabetes,
yes,
arthritis, high blood pressure.
And these are all nutritional deficiency diseases. And it comes down to 2 things. The nutrients that are required to prevent and cure these diseases are no longer found in our food. So you have to supplement to get rid of them.
So what is all of this medication doing that she was prescribed and taking?
With the exception of antibiotics, which can cure syphilis and Lyme disease and bacterial pneumonia.
Okay.
Prescription drugs, the only one that cures anything is antibiotics. All other prescription drugs, Pastor, are designed to relieve symptoms. And people are very grateful. Oh, I was in such pain for years. I take this new painkiller, these opioids, and I'm no more pain. But the disease keeps getting worse, and 5 or 10 years later, they die. Because the prescriptions are only treating the symptoms, not the disease.
Absolutely. So the things that you have given me are and I can tell a significant difference in my life. Pressure's good, no diabetes, none of the above. The same things that my mother and father, well, my father didn't have the Parkinson, but they were, when I went to the doctor, he was saying, well, if your mother has this and your father has this, I might as well get prepare you.
Right. Well, this is a false theory. There's been thousands of false theories every century going back to the days of Christ.
Okay.
You know, with the sorcerers and the physicians of the day and so forth. And the 20th century pastor and the 21st century no different. They have all these false theories. When they don't know something, they blame it on genetics.
Okay, right, absolutely.
Or they might even blame it on autoimmune.
Okay.
The body's attacking itself. Well, it comes down to all of these are nutritional deficiency diseases, and these are the pre-existing conditions that are breaking the insurance companies now, and people will have these diseases for 10, 15, 20, 30 years when we can get rid of them in weeks. We can save the government so much money. We can save families so much money.
Nobody's interested in that. It's that kind of money that you would literally be taking from that industry by now creating all of these healthy bodies. Who would want to know you?
Well, and of course the cost of doing this through nutrition, per 100 pounds of body weight, because it goes by body weight, per 100 pounds of body weight, it'll cost somewhere between, and depending on what diseases you have, somewhere around $3 to $4 per day, about the half of a cost of a cup of exotic coffee.
Come on, yeah.
As opposed to thousands of dollars a pill.
And the products that you have will increase your the deficiency. How do you the supplements that I'm taking now that you have given? Doc, you got me.
Well, here's what they do. Your body has been given by the Lord, and that God is the best physician, right?
Absolutely,
The physician
absolutely.
of all physicians. And God has put into us our body's ability to maintain and repair itself, but it requires raw material to do that. These nutrients are no longer found in our food, so our bodies alone cannot do this anymore. It has the processes, but it needs the raw materials. The body is just a blueprint, and so we need these raw materials for it to put to work to maintain and rebuild ourselves. And so what I've learned to do through the animal industry, because we don't have health insurance for animals.
Right.
And so a farmer, for instance, he doesn't want to feed 100 cows and have 25 birth defects and 75 normal calves and 25 with birth defects. He's going to go broke. So
we got to quit there. We got to quit there. Now, listen, you got to get more information. His information of his website and all of his products are right here on the screen. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just know the benefit of what this man's knowledge has done for this man who's sitting right here before you. And so when I get a hold of something that's going to advance the body of Christ, I'll be the first one that will run back and tell you the good news about how you can live and have this abundant life that God has called you. This is not by coincidence that you are watching this broadcast. You happen to tune in today to advance your life, or possibly the life of your family members, mom, dad. You can benefit from this broadcast. Next week, we're coming back with Dr. Wallach. We're going to be sharing again some of the same awesome information that you need to just hear about. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a joy. Remember, life is better when you're living by faith. We'll see you.
We're living by faith.
Dr. Joel Wallach's groundbreaking studies over decades of research have revealed numerous facts and truths about your health, which are radically different from what you have been led to believe by the medical community. These findings have been distributed worldwide through the material on this phenomenal CD, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, with more than 200 million copies in circulation. Recorded during Dr. Wallach's lectures, this CD touches on a wide range of subjects, including aging, heart disease, cholesterol, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and pregnancy. In all, Dr. Wallach addresses 25 topics and engages in question and answer sessions with the audience. And his book is a comprehensive expansion of the material on the CD, with over 400 pages of information which can significantly impact your quality and length of life. You'll learn how to identify 90 essential nutrients, many of which are not available in food. Prevent and reverse 412 diseases with vitamins, minerals, and herbs. Reach your genetic potential potential for a long and happy life. Eliminate a major portion of costly medical expenses. Take responsibility for your health, and much, much more. Dr. Wallach's Dead Doctors Don't Lie 400-page book and multi-million selling CD can both be yours today for a gift of $40. It's not too early or too late to gain the knowledge and tools you must have to rescue and revolutionize your health and that of your family and loved ones. Call or order online today.
And so this professor who was trying to teach newly graduated doctors about seniors, he says, let's look at this guy. And he said, well, why, sir, do you eat, or what do you attribute your youthful looks to and your youthful blood work? He says, well, I eat 25 eggs a day. Said, what? Yeah, I've been doing it for 17 years and I'm going to do it for the next 100 years. I said, why do you eat 25 eggs a day? He said, because it gives me the sex life of an 18-year-old.
Come on.
We're living by faith.
So welcome back. We're here. Some interesting things I've learned and we've talked about in our last broadcast. I pray that you were here and you heard all of these things. This is not a stranger to the body of Christ, nor on this topic. And Dr. Wallach is here with us again, and I'm happy to welcome him to Living by Faith broadcast. Doc, thank you for being with me again.
Pastor Mike, I feel like family. I really appreciate your
Oh,
hospitality.
I appreciate you so much. Now, just talk. Yesterday we talked about eating eggs. I've been removing the yolk from my eggs because they.
Oh, you were given misinformation.
Okay.
This all started out in 1901 when the German Navy went to a German chemist by the name of Wilhelm Norman in Berlin University. Said, look, we need a synthetic, smokeless diesel lubricant for German submarines. By 1904, he'd done it. At the end of the First World War, they didn't need it anymore, so he was allowed to sell it to a British soap manufacturing company. They couldn't sell the soap because everybody's making their own soap. So they sold it to Procter & Gamble here in the States.
Come on.
And they couldn't sell it. Remember, this is a diesel lubricant for German submarines.
Yes, sir.
They couldn't sell it as soap because in the 20s, 30s, 40s, everybody's making their own soap. And so they decided to turn it into a cooking shortening called Crisco. Remember, this is a synthetic diesel engine lubricant for German submarines. Now it's going to be a cooking shortening. And Grandma didn't want to use it because she's using lard, butter, cream, and eggs
Absolutely.
like her
Absolutely.
40 generations of grandmas before her. Well, so this guy by the name of Ansel Keys, who's the head of the Department of Medicine at the University of Minnesota, was on the board of directors of Procter & Gamble. He was also on the board of directors of the American Heart Association. And he brokers a deal by which Procter & Gamble gives the American Heart Association $1.7 million, which is kind of chump change today for big institutions. Back then it was a lot of money. Right?
Yes, sir.
So they took it in exchange for endorsing Crisco as a healthier way to eat than buttercream, lard, and eggs. They couldn't sell it. So Ansel Keys goes to an advertising firm and said, how do we sell this? Well, he said, you have to demonize what Grandma's doing. So then she'll go to the heaven piece with church music and butterflies.
Yes, sir.
Is going to be the Crisco. Well, they did an analysis of lard, butter, cream, and eggs, and they got two common threads, cholesterol and saturated fat, so they started demonizing that just so they could sell the Crisco. Okay? And then they threw in the Mediterranean diet, which there was no research on, nothing. They just made it up out of their head, and that began to sell. It was romantic, so they began to sell the Crisco. Well, since then, we've gotten about 14 diseases that going to Crisco instead of lard, butter, cream, and eggs, we've switched. In the switch, we wound up with low T, low testosterone, ED, erectile dysfunction, menopause at age 30,
Oh, wow.
adrenal exhaustion, and Alzheimer's disease. All those are caused by a cholesterol deficiency. It turns out that cholesterol is an essential nutrient, and it has nothing to do with the cause of plugged arteries and plaque in your arteries. It was all a fraud to sell Crisco.
And so, but people have to be sitting here just like when I first heard you some years ago. By what authority do you speak? Well, who is this guy? And you're brilliant. All of the information you have concerning all of these deficiencies.
Well, Pastor Mike, this story about the Crisco and
Yes, sir.
and getting rid of cholesterol, winding up with all these cholesterol deficient diseases, was a 2 full-page story in the Wall Street Journal 3 years ago. Now, you realize that Wall Street Journal is a financial newspaper.
Yes, sir.
So when they talk about health or anything like that, it's always 1 column wide, 2 paragraphs long.
No,
Very
okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're talking 2 full pages to tell this story. And then a couple of years later, 5 full pages in Time magazine, same story.
Come on.
And nobody paid attention to it, even though on the cover of these things they're telling you about, don't listen to this thing about don't eat the eggs, eat butter, don't use margarine, eat butter. All the opposite of what the doctors have been telling us. That was all to sell Crisco.
Absolutely.
And so we wound up with all these diseases. Now they're happy because they make billions of dollars each year for the sale of Cialis and Viagra and Premarin, which is made out of horse urine for women to get artificial estrogen for menopause at age 30.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then they make billions, no, they make trillions of dollars on statin drugs to lower your blood cholesterol. That's what makes the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies really happy, because now they get to treat Alzheimer's disease, which is caused by a deficiency of cholesterol.
And your mind is just clicking away like.
Well, that's because I've done 8,000 human autopsies. I've done 40,000 animal autopsies.
You've done 8,000 human autopsies.
Yes, sir, and 40,000 animal autopsies from 454 species of animals. Nobody else has ever done that before. I'm not smarter than anybody else, but God has put me in a position
Absolutely.
to be confronted with all this information. And as a result, I know things that nobody else knows. They've seen it with their eyes, but they couldn't understand it. They couldn't interpret it because they didn't have the information.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
And most of these autopsies that you have,
they're published.
okay, and you have also witnessed the deficiencies.
Yes, sir. Well, this is all done by biochemistry.
Yes, sir.
We spent millions of dollars doing the biochemistries, all the tests. And again, this is why my 1,200-page book, that's essentially my PhD thesis.
Mm-hmm.
1,200-page book that came out of this study is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because you cannot find this information anywhere else.
Come on. So these black genetic lies, talk about that.
Okay, well, this all started when I actually rebuilt Andy Young's knees. He was going to get a double knee replacement, rebuilt his knee so he didn't need the surgery. He was introducing me. He was so excited about it. We were talking about sickle cell anemia and hummingbirds and deer and why you could get a, quote, genetic disease, unquote, from the black community into deer and hummingbirds, which is really just nutritional deficiency, not genetic, as doctors were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to rebuild Andy Young's knees with our nutritional program, so he didn't need surgery. And
I believe that's what kind of contributed to my mom passing away. She needed knee replacement at 80-something
well, they
years.
should never have done surgery on her at 80-something years.
Right, absolutely.
I could have rebuilt her in, say, 90 days, and she'd still be alive today, using God's principles. Now, so if Creflo Dollar and Andy Young call me in 1991,
Mm-hmm.
they say, look, Emory University has told us that Pastor Dollar's daughter is not going to make it. She's 11 and a half years old. She's got a genetic form of asthma found in black kids, and she's not responding to maintenance medication nor to emergency medication, and she's not going to live to be 12. She's having so many crises now with her asthma. Emory University says she's not going to live to age 12. Get ready for her loss, because tomorrow you could wake up, she'll be dead. It's going to happen quick. So they call me, can you do anything? I said, yes, I know what's happening here. I can help you. I can get rid of that. And they were putting their hand over the phone. I could hear them whispering to her. I'm sure Pastor Dollar said, well, Emory University said it's genetic and there's nothing they can do. She's going to die.
Yeah.
And here's this guy, I don't even know who he is, and he's saying he can help her. So they get back on. And so I said, yes. I said, the reason why she's not responding to the maintenance medication and the emergency medication is she's not absorbing it. She has something called gluten intolerance. Her intestines are damaged. She cannot absorb the medication. That's the problem. So we need to get her and your whole family, everybody in the family, Grandma and Pastor Taffy and everybody in the household, and the cook, and needs to be on a gluten-free diet. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, brown, rye, oats. And then here's the program for her to rebuild her lungs and get rid of her asthma. And praise God, Pastor, in 2 weeks she was cured.
Woo,
After 11 and a half
glory to
years
God.
going downhill, in 2 weeks she was cured using God's stuff.
Wow.
And so unsolicited, a month later, I get this very large check, lots of zeros on it,
Come on.
from Pastor Dollar.
Come on.
And I don't take any money for telephone consultations, giving lectures. I don't take the money for the sale of the product. I don't make anything from the sale of the product because I don't want people to think I'm doing this.
I love it. I love it. Yes, sir.
I don't want people to think I'm doing this for the money.
Yes, sir.
I don't make any money for the sale of products.
Yeah.
And so I said, I have to give you this check back, and I'm calling you to tell you this personally because I didn't want you to think I was rude and rejecting your check, and I just want to thank you for your kind thoughts. He said, well, can you do research? I said, yes, sir. What kind of research you want? He said, well, after what you did for my daughter, I want you to find out all the diseases that are said to be genetic in the black community that are not. I want to know how to prevent them and cure them.
Oh, you got to stop right there. You got to stop right there. Because once we return, we want to talk about this information that Doc put together, and it's going to bless your life. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, and I'm going to give you the truth about nutrition. What I would like you to do is give me 90 days to show what the 90 essential nutrients can do for your health.
We're back, and I want to get right back into Black Genes Lies.
That's right.
Yeah,
And we do have a book, and we have
Yeah.
2 CDs that go along with it. And the research was paid for by Pastor Creflo Dollar.
Okay.
Okay. And he wanted to
I
find
love
out,
Doc. That's my main man. I thank God for him.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's been such a wonder, introducing me to more and more great things that God does. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate him. And so at any rate, he sends me this money, which I can't take, so I wanted to send it back to him. He says, well, do the research with it. And what did he want research on?
You can't take it because you're not in it for
the money.
For the money. You sincerely want us to know
God's
the body of
message.
Christ, God's message.
That's correct.
I love it. And
All
so,
over the world.
Yes, sir.
55 countries have done this in.
55 countries.
And the United Nations.
You could be a very, very wealthy beyond.
Well, I'm wealthy in God's Spirit,
Yeah,
but
I
I
know.
could have lots of money, but I don't take
Absolutely.
it. Okay. And so Pastor Dollar, he sends us money, and I say, I can't take the money. And he says, well, can you do research? And I said, well, what kind of research you want? He says, I want you to find all the diseases that are said to be genetic in the black community that are not. How to prevent them, how to cure them. So I hired a bunch of graduate students with the money, and in 6 months' time, I had all the research I needed. I sent him the manuscript to the book before I published it. I wanted his input. Say, well, this is where we're going with this. This is what we found. And he was just shocked. Because all the diseases said to be genetic in the black community, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancer, sickle cell anemia, are not.
Are not.
No, they're not. They're just all simple nutritional deficiency diseases. Sickle cell anemia is a nutritional deficiency in the mother when the bone marrow cells are forming in early pregnancy in the embryo. And so the sort of like cerebral palsy and heart defects and cleft palate and Down syndrome, this is a birth defect of the bone marrow. And so it only makes dysfunctional hemoglobin called sickle cell anemia. Now it also occurs in animals because they can get the same birth defect. That's why my book's in the Smithsonian Institute. Right? All vertebrates, same deficiency, get the same disease. White people also get sickle cell anemia. Now it's supposed to be a genetic disease in black folks.
Certainly.
Right? And so they had to change the name in white guys. Same disease, but they call it thalassemia in white guys.
How about that?
Otherwise it would confuse the public.
Of course, yeah, right.
And so what I had to learn to do was come up with programs to eliminate sickle cell anemia, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease. For instance, congestive heart failure. As a pastor, you see lots of people with congestive heart failure.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Sir, we've known for 300 years it's a deficiency of a single vitamin.
A single vitamin.
Yes, sir. The quickest ones I've gotten rid of congestive heart failure is a week. Normally it'll take me 2 months or less. Get them off all their medication. They're free of congestive heart failure. Because it's a, you know, for instance, when you have iron deficiency anemia, you and I would want to go to the drugstore and get some iron and take it. But the doctor wants to do a bone marrow transplant. Well, that's why all the insurance companies are going broke, because they're going with all these expensive treatments that just treat the symptoms, don't fix the disease.
Yes,
Whereas
sir.
the nutritional supplementation cures the disease. And some of them people know. You can cure scurvy with vitamin C, you can cure beriberi with vitamin B1, pellagra with vitamin B3, rickets with vitamin D. You can cure, let's see here, You can cure, there's a type of anemia you get with vitamin B12 deficiency, obviously iron deficiency, rickets, vitamin D3, night blindness, where you can't see colors at night.
Yes, sir.
It's a simple vitamin A deficiency.
What about the congestive heart failure? You
It's a
said what
deficiency of
vitamin?
enzyme. Well, I don't tell people what that is because
Okay.
I don't want them to go drop off their medication and get that vitamin because they might have a problem. What we have is what we call the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack,
Okay.
which is a more complete thing. Because when
Okay.
you have congestive heart failure, you got lung problems, you got kidney
Yes,
problems,
yes, sir.
and so we have to deal with all of that. And then we give them what we call the secret sauce, which is that vitamin.
Okay.
We add that secret sauce
The
to it.
secret sauce. Now, how can they find out if we're here?
Well, the number you're giving them,
Yes, sir.
that number, the email address, the website, the telephone number, Miss Linda or Angel will be their coach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And walk them through that
yes.
step by step. And they won't have to be concerned about there being any imbalances with
correct.
what they're getting from their doctor. And
No, they can stay on their medication.
Right.
And when they go to their doctor for their usual, in fact, if they're feeling really, really good, I say, go make an extra, don't wait until you're supposed to go there 3 months from now. Just get an appointment, go ahead, see what he says now. He says, I don't know why, but you don't have congestive heart failure anymore. I get this all the time with diabetes. People with diabetes for 30 years, Pastor, they call me up and say, well, my doctor says I don't have diabetes anymore, not to take any more medication. In 30 days, after 30 years. This is God's work. It never fails.
it never
It
fails.
never fails.
I know when I got out of that hospital after almost checking out, I mean, the
It's very
doctors
scary.
were, this is very, very good, very scary. It's a challenging time for us all. But I got to work on taking all of those things that you were telling me about. And people are telling me that I look, now I don't want to be boasting about how I look, but
Well, you look like a young man. Your skin looks beautiful.
yeah.
You know.
And that's what I've been hearing. I mean, my strength, I'm regaining. It's almost daily. And I just feel a lot better. The pressure that I would have challenges with is normalized, and I just thought it was my exercise, a combination of that, but this deficiency that I obviously had.
Now, you had lung problems, didn't you?
Yes, sir, lung
As I
problem.
remember. And of course, the lungs make a hormone to keep the bronchi open,
Okay.
keep your airways open. If you're not making that hormone, those airways, the muscles just close it down. So instead of being as big around as a quarter,
Okay.
your bronchi to your lungs from your trachea,
Yeah.
okay, instead of being a diameter of a quarter, they're the size of a diameter of a pencil.
Ooh.
Maybe
Wow.
maybe an eighth of an inch.
Yeah.
So suddenly you can't hardly breathe.
Yes, sir.
And doctors say, oh, you got a life-threatening situation here. What you do?
Yeah.
Well, I've had people who were told they only have weeks to live. They call me up in the middle of the night. We put them on, say, 18 of these nutrients, and by the morning time, their bronchi are back open to the size of a quarter. They're perfectly normal. You just have to give them the right secret sauce.
Yeah.
And this is what's on the CDs.
I like the right
DVDs,
secret
the correct
sauce.
secret sauce.
Yeah.
And all of them are God's. These are
Yeah.
not man's creation. Every one of these is a natural substance made
So
by God.
did you go back like to Genesis, if you will, plant-based, and you've researched all the information that matches certain different dispositions of the body and have connected that particular vitamin with like the lungs and what you just mentioned,
Yes.
the heart. And
Doctors don't pay attention to this because they're looking for the drug that's going to open up your bronchi. Doesn't solve the nutritional deficiency problem,
right.
but the drug will relieve the symptoms. But the disease, what's going to happen is when you're deficient in that same nutrient, you're going to get a blood clot in your lung. You're going to get a thrombotic stroke, or you get a blood clot in the brain, or you get a coronary thrombosis, you get a blood clot in the coronary artery and die. Because the same deficiency causes all those different diseases.
Well, why aren't doctors talk about that a bit?
Well, let's look for 2 minutes on some statistics.
Okay.
Johns Hopkins, very famous medical school from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
They came out 3 months ago and said the number 3 cause of death in human beings in America is simple mistakes in the workplace of a doctor. Third leading cause of death in America is simple mistakes in a doctor's workplace, the hospital. Each year, now this is Johns Hopkins came up with this just a couple of months ago. Published in medical journals, every newspaper in the land had it, was on every TV station. They said each year medical doctors kill, and they use a kill word, each year medical doctors kill 251,000 Americans from simple mistakes. What would happen if a fast food place were to kill 251,000
How about that? Yeah, yes, sir.
What would happen if Iran or
Yeah.
North Korea were to send over an intercontinental ballistic missile with a bad weapon and kill 251,000 Americans? It'd be a war.
Absolutely, obvious.
Well, here's one trade that does it every year in their workplace and nothing happens. Also, we've learned that because of these things, our children will be the first generation of Americans that do not live as long as their parents. You may have heard that too.
Absolutely.
Well, that is a catastrophic prediction of biblical proportions. That's the same as telling the Pharaoh, the firstborn in Egypt are going to die if you don't let the Hebrew slaves go. Okay? And this is what's going to happen. If we don't supplement these kids properly, they will all die before we do.
How do we get this message out more and more?
Well, you're doing it.
Yes, sir.
And so, again, it's all in the CDs and the DVDs and in the books. And we're working hard, and I can't thank you enough for sharing this with your church family.
Absolutely.
And some of them will take it on, like apostles, and sometimes you feel the frustration. I felt the frustration, and then I thought of Noah and Jesus himself.
Come on.
They couldn't get everybody to do everything.
Come on, come on, come on. We got to stop right there, Doc. We're coming right back to share with you just some tips and things that you should know now. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, and I'm going to give you the truth about nutrition. What I would like you to do is give me 90 days to show what the 90 essential nutrients can do for your health.
It's been an awesome broadcast. I want Dr. Wallach to just give us some tips, but I also want you to get in contact with him. You've heard some things that's going to literally revolutionize your life. It's going to change your life. It's changed my life. My health is a lot better. I'm telling you, I'm doing everything this man has given me to do. You can contact him now. His precious angel, he calls her, Linda. She'll be on standby. Just contact her at this number that's on your screen, and you'll have all the information you'll need from that call, I promise you. Doc, give us a few tips on what we can start doing now. If I got high blood pressure, what do I do? If I have diabetes, I call. How do I get started? Give me some tips.
Okay, well, first of all vertebrates, again, humans, turtles, fish, flamingos, and elephants, and giraffe, and rats, and dogs, and pigs, we require 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. Most multiples on the market have 24, 26, 28, about not even a third.
We require 90.
We require 90. Of those 90, 60 are minerals. Now, plants only require 3 minerals to look good and produce tomatoes and carrots and seeds for the next generation. We need 60.
Okay.
So if you're eating a pretty good looking tomato, tastes good, firm, perfect tomato, you're only getting 3 elements from the soil. You're short 57.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so we have to consciously supplement with these things because these nutrients are no longer found in the food. There's some places in the United States, 50, 100, 200 years ago, all 60 minerals were in the tomatoes.
How about that?
Now there's only 3 because our soil is deficient.
Yes, sir.
Well, they're deficient because we went from wood as the universal fuel to electricity. You're probably old enough to remember when we put wood ashes in the garden.
Absolutely.
Wood ashes are not ashes. Wood ashes are the minerals that the trees sucked up out of the ground. We threw the minerals into the garden. We ate the tomatoes, and the carrots, and the beets, and the cabbage. They had sucked up all those minerals. They didn't need them, but they sucked them up. We ate that food, and we got the minerals that way.
How about that?
When we switched to electricity, no more wood ashes in the house anymore. No more wood ashes in the garden. No more minerals. The commercial fertilizers only have the 3 that plants need.
Come on.
So we went from 40, 50, 60 to 3.
3, right.
And nobody knew to make up the difference by supplementing because nobody knew they were getting their minerals from the food.
Okay.
So now we know this.
Okay.
And so you have to consciously supplement. And I like people to get over
every
this,
day.
Every day.
Right.
A stick of butter a day.
Okay.
You need to eat a stick of butter a day. It's not an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It says a stick of butter a day keeps the doctor away. Okay? It helps you get rid of and reverses Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, MS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Huntington's disease. All those diseases of the brain are really the same disease, just different parts of the brain are more severely affected, so you get slightly different symptoms.
And we were told that a stick of butter a day would kill us.
Well, cause plaque in your arteries and cause
Yes.
all kinds of arterial disease. No, sir. The margarine is the one that actually does it. Okay? And then, of course, again, I like people per 100 pounds of body weight to eat 6 to 8 eggs a day, and that's so you can make hormones.
Okay.
Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, adrenal hormones belong to a class of nutrients called steroid hormones. They're 95% by weight cholesterol. And if you're eating margarine instead of butter,
Right.
and you're eating egg beaters instead of eggs, or egg white omelets instead of whole egg omelets, you think you're doing good because the doctor told you so.
That's exactly what I
You're
thought.
deficient in all those hormones. You're going to be needing Cialis and Viagra and Premarin and
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Lord of mercy.
Okay, I'm going to eat some eggs today.
the kicker was in 1991, there was an article published in the New England Journal of Medicine by Harvard Medical School.
Okay.
And there was this old guy, he's 88 years old, and he looked like he was 50, and his blood work showed that he was a healthy 50-year-old guy, although he was 88 years old. And so this professor who was trying to teach newly graduated doctors about seniors, he says, let's look at this guy. And he said, well, why, sir, do you eat, or what do you attribute your youthful looks to and your youthful blood work? He says, well, I eat 25 eggs a day. What? Yeah, I've been doing it for 17 years, and I'm going to do it for the next 100 years. I said, why do you eat 25 eggs a day? He said, because it gives me the sex life of an 18-year-old.
Come on.
And so this was published. This is one of the biggest articles ever written in the New England Journal of Medicine. Eat 25 eggs a day.
I'm going to get some eggs as soon as we end this broadcast. And I'm not here to make light of any of all of this information at all. This information has really been...
They can look it up, March 1991, New England Journal of Medicine.
You look it up yourself. You heard it here. Look it up. Look it up. And then please contact his office. That information is on the screen. His darling angel, Linda, will be there to take your calls. And it's going to change your life. I'm glad you tuned in. This has been Living by Faith. Remember, life is better when you're living by faith. We'll see you soon.
We're living by faith.
Dead Doctors Don't Lie, with more than 200 million copies in circulation. Recorded during Dr. Wallach's lectures, this CD touches on a wide range of subjects, including aging, heart disease, cholesterol, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and pregnancy. In all, Dr. Wallach addresses 25 topics and engages in question and answer sessions with the audience. And his book is a comprehensive expansion of the material on the CD, with over 400 pages of information which can significantly impact your quality and length of life. You'll learn how to identify 90 essential nutrients, many of which are not available in food. Prevent and reverse 412 diseases with vitamins, minerals, and herbs. Reach your genetic potential for a long and happy life. Eliminate a major portion of costly medical expenses. Take responsibility for your health, and much, much more. Dr. Wallach's Dead Doctors Don't Lie 400-page book and multi-million selling CD can both be yours today for a gift of $40. It's not too early or too late to gain the knowledge and tools you must have to rescue and revolutionize your health and that of your family and loved ones. Call or order online today.
Thank you for viewing this presentation, and remember to contact the person that sent this to you. For more presentations and books that go into greater detail, go to docwallachmedia.com. And be well. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The opinions expressed in this informational program are the express opinions of Joel D. Wallach, B.S., DVM, ND, are not a replacement for proper medical advice and treatment. In all cases, we recommend you contact your physician directly regarding any medical conditions.